And look at her face paint.
It's like, yo, hold on 1 second. Hold on. Your mom wants you, man. Go ahead. Your mom wants you. So he like, yo, I get 200 pallets a day. I'm like, oh man, so you get 200 pallets a day. How many you got now? He was like, none. I was like, okay. So the sniffing and that was a red flag, and he was just asking some weird questions. So long story short, I was on a Zoom call. He was calling me, and like if somebody called me like 6 or 7 times. Reggie in the building. What's up, my guy?
What's up, man? What's up?
Like 6 or 7 times. While I was on a Zoom call, that's another red flag. If somebody like called me back to back like that, like if it's not like a family emergency, I just like when it comes to college, I'm like, man, I don't want to get just from experience. So long story short, right? I called him back. Say what's going on. He's like, yo, I'm here, such and such at the office. Like, I'm 100 for me. You guess how many this guy?
How much?
24 pallets. Right? So I'm like, so I'm talking to him. I'm trying to get him some.
Oops. Sorry about that. I did something wrong. Yikes. Sorry, guys. I'm not doing my best today here. Let me go back into the room. That was a pretty interesting.
This long text message like a book. He's like, now, that's what. He's like, you're the biggest waste of time ever. He's like, and I'm going to let you know. After leaving your office, some guy followed me into another parking lot. It was a Wawa up the street, so I couldn't tell the truth. And he paid me $8 per pallet. I'm like, well, I just liked it and said congratulations, you know? Much success too. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, you know, you can't. With this business,
you can't please everybody.
You can't please everybody. That's the summation of it. I just wanted the details, but without the details, we can't please everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't.
That's true. Reggie, I think your mic is on mute.
Is my mic on mute? Can you hear me? Okay, sorry about that. How about now?
There you go.
In the building.
Cool. What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Talking about customer relations.
No, I heard that, and you know, it's obviously pretty important, guys. We're streaming live as well at the same time, so and I apologize for being a little late, but we're trying to get this thing right here. You can hear me, so we got somebody on Facebook right now, so I appreciate that. But so customer service is so vital and so important in this business. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today, but I want to let you guys, kind of talk a little bit more. What was it like in your industry? What's up, Sean? How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Sean? What's going on?
Yeah, we need to hook up with Sean tomorrow too, for sure.
Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah, we got some stuff going on. But yeah, so I would like to go first.
All right.
So it's actually very, very, very important. And it should be obvious, but with me, I'm kind of, to be honest with you, I'm an introvert. So it's hard for me to, kind of engage. It's not hard for me to engage with people, but it's just that constant talking to other people. Sometimes I just want to, close the door and be like, I ain't talking to nobody today. But when you're doing this business, you have to communicate, and you have to communicate very well. So yesterday, rather last night, had got put on the forefront, of saying, hey, look, you've got to do a better job of, your customer relation skills, and you have to communicate with these guys better, because any kind of miscommunication can throw the whole thing off. Like, just as far as an hour, a time of trucking, because they may not be available, from 7 to 12, which I think Buford or, Georgia is. where we're, sending some pallets to. So if I don't convey that to, let's just say, the driver or, Reggie or, somebody else, then the whole thing can get screwed. And now they need detention time. So now that's extra money just because I didn't convey, hey, you can't be there at that hour. So, yeah, yesterday I definitely got challenged, but I come from sports. So, I always like to step up to the plate, and I accept any kind of challenges, that come my way. So it's just a learning curve for me, for sure. It's definitely a learning curve, but I'm getting there. So it's just about, and in this business too, your weaknesses will show very, very. It's like a large scale with your weaknesses, and so that is my weakness, and that's a weakness that in this business we definitely can't have. So
that's true.
That's all I got.
But one of the things, though, just to your point, Nigel, just to kind of chime in right quick, in that regard, especially where we are, as far as all of us really on this call, we're on the front lines. And so what we call this in corporate America is client facing. And so when you're client facing and you're always in front of some sort of client, and that client doesn't necessarily have to be a customer. That client could be a supplier. That client could be the trucker. It could be whomever. Like, we are client facing. So always having that in the back of your mind that you are the face of the franchise. We like to say in the cult that I belong to that I'm the only Bible that people ever read, right? And that some people ever read. So I'm the only Bible about Pallet Junction that people ever read. Like, they won't necessarily know anything more about Pallet Junction than their interaction with me. And so that's important, and so that's what we always have to keep in mind, just client facing and knowing that we are the spokesperson at that moment. So, I'll pass. I just wanted to kind of interject that and kind of throw that out to the team as well.
Oh man, that was awesome. Hey Nigel, I want to tell you something, right?
Yeah.
I used to be just like that. As far as an introvert, due to not other reasons, but just the neighborhood I come from. So, and you don't really talk, and only around like your close associates. So the other people, we didn't really talk to people. But at the end of the day, nothing can get sold. No new relationships can be made without communication to other people. So with that, I actually took some speaking classes, some college courses in business speaking, because certain language needs to be adapted to communicate on different levels. If you can talk to something to the people in a way that they understand, then it's kind of like a gift. Especially if you can take like complex things down and make them simple, so people can understand a complex issue, and you can convey that very simple. That works in your favor. Like, that's to me that's a blessing for someone to be able to take a complex issue and break it down so ordinary people on any level can understand exactly what it is. That's a blessing from only one person can give you that blessing. So I noticed that, and then you just work at it. The more you work at it, the more, especially if you surround yourself around like people on higher levels and bigger playing fields, it just puts. I'm not gonna call him back. He's too late, and you'll grow in that aspect. But as far as this pilot industry, it's actually a smaller world than it. It's a smaller world than it's appeared.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Objects in the mirror appear larger than what they really are, but sometimes this world can be very, to your point, very small and overly sometimes complicated. Right? We take the smallest thing and get offended by it, not knowing that we all trying to hustle. But that's a good point, man.
Sean, your mic is on mute. It's the bottom right. You gotta hit the bottom right button. Yeah. yeah. It's it was definitely a learning lesson, and Reggie hates when I go on silence, but the silence isn't for as being, just not caring or anything, but I'm actually taking heed to what you're saying. So I'm the type of person that I learn while being silenced. When you talk too much, you're not really listening, right? You're always being combative, or just being standoffish. But I like to stay in silence, and I've always been like that. My mom told me, "Oh, why are you so quiet? Don't you hear me talking to you?" And it's like, yeah, I hear you talking to me, but that's just how I take in information, is by staying silent and saying, "Okay, I'll do better next time."
No, that's cool, man. Let's get off of you, man. Don't make this all about you. Let's make it about me. So, I'm just kidding. No. I'm just kidding. So let me. Does someone else have something else to share? Because I'm gonna share like 2 or 3 points that I try to keep in mind when dealing in public relations with the company. But I don't want to overtalk, because I love when we all communicate. The other day we had a good meeting and everyone communicated. A good portion of us communicated, and I thought it was really, really good. So we want to encourage more of that.
No, go ahead. The floor is yours.
So, we already talked about like what we call that is client facing, right? Which is, pretty cool to kind of understand what that means, that you are client facing, that you are the only Bible that the client will actually read about your company, about your product, and things like that. So that being said, there's 3 things that you also want to keep in mind. Get money off of your mind. One of the things that I used to always challenge my people with when we were doing sales, in particular, if someone called up and they had an issue with a product, or issue with some steps in the product, either product or the buying process or the sale process, someone would have an issue, and they could have an issue, and they call up, and the sales rep is only thinking about protecting their commission. The sales rep is only thinking about protecting their reputation, or they're thinking about making sure that even though they're right, that's conveyed to the customer. So all 3 of those things, right, is a no-no. What we call that is commission breath, typically, and you can tell when a guy or a girl or just a sales rep, whatever pronoun they like to use today, has commission breath. You can tell it just spills out. So the first thing that I always check is to make sure that I don't have commission breath, meaning I'm not trying to make a sale. I'm trying to leave this conversation, this interaction, with a respected professional friend or colleague. That's going to be my payoff. So that's one of the 3 things that I think of. Secondly, the second thing that I think of is I want to make sure that, and as I'm having this conversation, I want to go back to Nigell's point, that I'm talking very little and I'm listening. And I'm listening not to necessarily fix it, but to empathize. So I want to make sure that I'm carrying a level of empathy in my posture, whether we are face to face or on the phone. So I'm acknowledging that they're saying something. So in that acknowledgement, in that posture, in that empathy, I'm repeating some of the things that they say to me. If they say to me, basically, well, we had a bad customer experience today. The guy called up, he talked to a jerk in Pallet Junction, and it wasn't Nigel. and I made a joke, and I thought it was funny, but he didn't, and he was turned off on it, and he hung up, and I was like, man, that's crazy. So I called him back, and I used a little voice technique there, and he still wasn't going for it. He's like, nah, man, I just didn't like the way, whatever. But it was such in my opinion, it wasn't really a big deal. And guess what? Guess what happened? I didn't have empathy. I didn't listen. I wasn't listening necessarily to his complaint, nor was I listening to the fact that in his posture that he was all about that business. And so, thirdly, I keep in mind that I don't take it personal. I don't take it personal. It's not personal. It's about Pallet Junction. It's about the sales process. It's about the trucker. It's about the delivery. But it's not about me. It's not an indictment on who I am as a person. So I'm not going to take it personally. We listened today with this stuff between Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. And it was all well and good until Skip made it personal with Shannon. And you have to remember, man, that even if someone does make it personal, you can't even take it as that because they don't know you. Now, those two guys know each other pretty well, but they don't know me, man. They don't know what kind of character I am. They don't know or what kind of character I have or what kind of person I am. So I don't take it personally. I listen and I have empathy and I don't have commission breath. So I'm not trying to sell you anything. And what do those three things do for you? It takes all of the pressure off of you in those situations. Ultimately, it wins you a client. That client will come back to you. I'm not sure how much experience you guys have with other sales training. If you've worked with a guy named Cardone, he actually has a bunch of stuff out on the internet, YouTube. He's a multi millionaire, billionaire sometimes not, depending on what day it is. But one of the things that he said when he's a car salesman basically, and that's what he's always been before he got into real estate. But the thing that I will always remember, and unfortunately or fortunately for me, I had to take a lot of his courses because I was in upper management at one company, and our VP wanted to make sure we all knew how to 10x things, right? Anyways, but one thing I do remember as what he said is I never shied away from a problem. I always see an opportunity in it. So if a customer came in to our facility, he would say, I would make sure that I took that customer, especially if they were angry, if they had a problem, if they were unhappy, because once you make them happy, you have a customer for life. And so think on those terms, right? Don't have commission breath, even though eventually it will turn into a profitable means for you. It definitely will. If you solve their issue, if you have empathy, if you don't take things personally, if you keep your eyes on the prize, which is to resolve their issue for that moment, if you can. And sometimes it's just a company policy. Sometimes we have policies here in the company that just doesn't jive with a segment of the people that we serve. And as a ward of the company, as a protector of the company, I have to be sure to hold or adhere to what's best for the company, and that's what's best for me. So those are kind of the three things that I kind of always keep in mind when I'm dealing with problems in customer service. But then there's a flip side to that. Customer service is also when things are going well too. You're setting things up for the future. As I tell Nidrell, play chess and not checkers. Think 3-4 moves ahead. Don't think about right now or just this moment. Live in the moment, but have your eye on tomorrow. And so I like to focus 2-3 moves, down the road. And that's also important with customer service. Well, what does that mean? It means this. It means that in a real life scenario, someone calls up and says, hey, we need X amount of pallets, and they have to be custom pallets, and they have to be this, that, and the other thing. Well, I'm writing all of this down. We figure out what they need. We connect them with the right supplier. But then at the same time, we've got a list of folks that they can use if they need them for transportation. That's thinking down the road. That's good, positive customer service. We also have, a a prepaid, or not, excuse me, not a prepaid, but a pre um, plan if that shipment doesn't go right. Here's what I mean. If a couple of those pallets get there and they are not correct, or let's say they're wet, or they've got sawdust on them, or something ridiculous like that, and that stack is rejected by the buyer, Nigella and I know that we can just, say, hey, listen, we'll give you a credit for those, 3 or 4 pallets so that they don't reject the whole load. And then we honor that. And that's how we were able to win back a customer. Not only did we mess up on them once, we messed up on them twice, and they still gave us a third chance because we had all of those things already figured out. If a customer calls back and complains, softwood, not the quality that we anticipated, hey, just give me a count of what that was. So customer service is a two-way sword. It's not just how you do it, when things go wrong. It's when things are going right, setting yourself up for future opportunities. Still not having what? Commission breath. You always want to ward off and make sure you don't have commission breath. We talk to a lot of brokers and a lot of sales folks all the time. And because of experiences, I know when they have commission breath, when they're forcing things. And every time you have commission breath, things go wrong. Not some of the time, all the time. It's 100% indicator that your program isn't correct. Your program is not running in the right direction. Commission breath hurts you. So how do you avoid it? You take a step back. You say, excuse me, let me call you right back. Go to the restroom, say a prayer, get your mind off of it, jump on, social media. Don't waste too much time on it. Make yourself laugh. Kevin Hart does it for me sometimes, but I have to get my mind off of that dollar. I have to get my mind off of that dollar. And it really does work. And eventually you'll train yourself that you'll sort of be Teflon, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's just a mode and a way in which you conduct your business. And people appreciate that. There's so many people that appreciate the way that Nigel and I handle Pallet Junction. There's some people who don't. You can't. Back to the point that was made by Dante, you can't please them all. And finally, that's it. You can't please them all, no matter what you want to do, no matter how gracious you are, no matter how giving you are, how many discounts you give, all of those things. You cannot please them all. So that's what I got for you on that. You guys feel free to share or comment, based on the things we just talked about.
Yeah. Raheem, we haven't had you on here. We appreciate you for joining us. Where are you from, and what does your market look like? And you can unmute. It's at the bottom right. He's like, nah, I'm good. All right. What was your question over?
He fell. Now he was just like asking the comment. And what you said, you gonna comment on it?
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, sometimes I get caught up in the catch-22, I call it, like between doing what's best for the company and sometimes like pushing forward. My wife tell me I do that a little bit too much. Like, yo, you have a standard of how you operate it. Don't go over and beyond in that. So I be trying to help people no matter what. Like, if somebody come in, I try to help them. Even if I can't help them, I'm going to try to help them. Give them advice and put them in the direction, point them in the right direction. So I took notes on the 3 things. Don't have commission, rush, listen, emphasize. Empathize, rather, not emphasize, but empathize to their situation. And I'm glad you know you come from a 10X background. That's a good thing.
10X.
That's a good thing.
10X, seriously? We got some Cardone fans in this joint?
No. You can't take everything he do, but some things he say, some things he said, I found that they work.
No, I do believe that a lot of stuff that Cardone does work. I think it's sometimes a little too methodical and too planned out, and so it works. So let me tell you what that does. I'm going to tell you that works for non-salespeople, people who are actually literally just doing the business, or in that role because that happens to be the role they find themselves in, but are not naturally good salespeople. So that works splendidly for them. They need a set of hard and fast rules that don't bend or break, and so he's perfect for those. And I've managed those folks that are truly not salespeople but found themselves in that role, and it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference for them, for sure. But for me, I found that a lot of his stuff was condescending and redundant. But you're talking about a guy that's been doing this for the better part of 30 years. So it's not, he's not going to hit me the same as somebody who's been doing it for 3 months either. So it's a little different. I actually, I got deep into that thing because my boss actually had 10X on his license plate, which was crazy. So, but listen, it did work, and it helped me to have a conversation piece with the people that I managed. So I would be able to extrapolate from there and have conversations with them and say, hey, you remember when you took this particular lesson in the course? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we engage, how our pre-engagement is. So pre-engagement, obviously, in sales is really important. Every day, before you actually have your first interaction with your customer or with your customer base, you should be having a moment where you interact with yourself. What is selling you today, right? Because you are your best sales guy. So what is selling you today? What is selling me to get up, to go out there to either hunt for pallets, hunt for pallet buyers, or hunt for pallet suppliers, or do advertising or whatever? What's my motivation? There was a commercial that came out years ago, and the actor turns around to the director in this commercial and said, hey, what's my motivation? And that struck me way back then. I think that's probably about 15 years old. But I would always ask myself in my situation when I get up and after I have my prayer and after I kind of interact very sparingly. I try not to to interact with very many people until I have this kind of moment, either in prayer or right after prayer. But I need to know what my motivation is for that day. What is my psyche? Where am I at? It's really important because when you know where you are and the reason why you're selling or you're doing what you're doing, it's easier for you to sell. It becomes tentative. It becomes like a native action instead of something artificially, inseminated. Right? It becomes native. I'm excited today because I get a chance to talk to such and such. I'm motivated because I'm going to help this person resolve their issue. Or I'm excited because we're going to expand our office. And in order for us to expand our office or our work site, we've got to make more money. And therefore, I got to get out there and grind a little harder. Whatever that might be for you. It used to be my kids. Believe it or not, I used to go from job to job and I'd have one thing in common besides myself. I would have a picture of my kids and I would sit it on the desk. And every day, if I was inside rep, I would look at the picture. If I was an outside rep, I would put that picture somewhere in my vehicle or wherever I was. And that was my motivation. That was 100% my motivation. But I never left home without, and I never worked without that kind of motivation. because sometimes, and most of the times, it's not about me. It's more about you. It's more about you. I'm preaching too much, man. Somebody got to get up on the pulpit. Somebody got to come on now.
Oh, right. Raheem came back up though. He raised his hand.
What's up, Raheem?
Not sure if he wants to speak or not. Oh man. Yep. So if we're off of that, let's go to California. California,
Oh, California. So somebody's from California on the horn. What's up? What's up? What's up? We're gonna talk about California today. Somebody on from California? No? All right. Oh, so did you see my message about California, like we were talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, you were leading me into this. Okay. All right, you're getting better at it. One day you're gonna be like the perfect host. You're awesome. You're awesome already, but man, wait. So, how many of we've talked about this in the past collectively, but I'm really interested in what you guys think the story is that the prices in California is telling us. And I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a clue. So 4 months ago, 3 months ago, I don't know, Dadrell, Aroma, how long ago was that when we were selling them pallets, B-grade pallets for $12?
About I want to say 4 or 5 months ago.
We started 4 or 5 months ago. We stopped doing it maybe about a month ago, month and a half, maybe 2 or whatever. Anyway,
yeah, I think two. We stopped.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're selling them B-grade pallets at $12, $14.50, $15 for A-grade pallets, and they were completely happy with it. We're actually bringing those pallets out of Texas into California because at that time, I don't think we did have a couple people in California on Pallet Junction, active members, but they were selling their pallets, their B grades, for like $11.50, $12, and that was on the low end. That they were like pushing that to us, like, hey, we're doing you a favor by giving you that price. And then they would sell their A grades for $15, $15.50, up to $16, and even saying, hey, we've got a customer for you. You want COD? We'll take care of it, but we need a little better pricing. And they'd be like, nah, that's where it is. This is where the market is. Hey, tell them where the market is now, Nadrell.
Man, so A's you're looking at in the $9 range. B's you're looking in the $8 to $7 range.
Yeah, in California.
Yeah, which is unheard of because
in Los Angeles.
Yeah, last year, man, I think A's were almost at like $20.
They could have been.
It was real bad. It was real
crazy.
Bad. They almost take the whole pallet industry.
Yeah, it was bad. So that being said, right, it's gone from now. I want to give Nadrell and I a little posture here on credibility here. Like we literally, we started our career in LA. Like we started in one of the hardest markets in the pallet industry in that market. So we know that market fairly well. We know it so well that we didn't really want to deal with it so much because it was like, man, this is just really hard, right? And I'm talking about the guy on the street was selling his pallets, his cores for like $9-10. That's not unheard of. We were taking cores, broke down, nasty two-way cores out of El Paso, bringing them into LA and selling them for $10.50. These things were weathered. They had hard nails in them. It was terrible. It was terrible. And now no one would even buy those now. They wouldn't buy those now. So I'm interested, and I guess I'm challenging you to kind of think, what does this mean if the hottest market is at that rate right now, from coming from such a high height? Now it's become so incredibly reasonable. What does that mean for the rest of us?
We gotta adjust.
Yes, agreed. We have to adjust, and we have to encourage other suppliers that we buy from, other buyers that we connect with. We have to convince the buyers that we're obviously on, and we already talked about how to maneuver in that way. But if we're buying supply or working with folks, and what I mean by buying supply, I'm just not saying, in a broker relationship. I'm talking about in a wood relationship, right? If I'm buying lumber, then let's be sure that you need to convey that kind of conversation to the lumber guy. Hey, you recognize that, prices is falling all over. We need to, you need to adjust my pricing. You can't keep eating, filet mignon off me when you very well know that you're not paying as much, and that your margins now, if I pay the same price, are going to be huge. And I'm not counting your money, but as a customer, I'm going to have to look elsewhere. So whether you're buying, a supply of pallets already ready to go, or whether you're buying the stock and the boards from someone else, and everything is individually, cut for you, ready to put together. Let's be mindful that those prices are coming way down. And in no time, I know that places like Kansas City and in that metro area, they're going to hold that number that they're at for a little while longer, but they will succumb. And do you know why? They will succumb because people will start selling into their market to the bigger, buyers. And let me tell you why I know that, because that's what I did last year. And that's sometimes what I continue to do. I will say, I still, and unless I'm buying it from Miss Kathy, who is in that market, do you know I get my pallets for my customers in that area? I get them from Louisiana. I get them from San Antonio. The best place to get pallets to sell into that market is from San Antonio. One of the very best places. The shipping is very reasonable. It's about $1,200. You can get B grade pallets for about $6.50 or so, $7. And so then you could sell them into that market for about, I don't know, $9.50, $10. Yeah, $10. $10.50 is where you want to be, but you can sell them into that market, and you'll still be doing okay. You'll still be on. You'll have plenty. So that market has a little sustainability just for a little bit. Up in the Northeast, you don't, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you can start coming west. You can come from places like the Midwest. You can come from Pittsburgh. You can come from the outer portions of Ohio, and you can start selling into the Northeast. You can start coming from places like West Virginia, selling into the Northeast, Virginia. So that right there, and that's going to be a lot more competitive. That's going to be competitive. So as you start, Dante and KJ and everyone else, as we start to look for, more suppliers, if our suppliers just aren't doing it, because sometimes we're going to have to do that. Not often though, because we have a good amount of suppliers in that area. But just be mindful. Sometimes we're going to be bringing stuff out. So right now we're going from where Sean is into Virginia. Right, so from Winston-Salem into Virginia. Now, we're not making a profit on this particular one because we're trying to make up from some past ills, but you understand that this is what's happening. This is how brokers make their money. This is how you start to break a market, you could break that market down. It doesn't take, it don't have to be 1,000 of us to do it. It just only takes a few of us to do it. Maybe about 10 or 20 of us. We get some of the bigger accounts and we just start breaking those accounts down. All of a sudden, we're saving them $1. And they have no choice but to move closer to where you are. They can't have no choice but to go to Sean and KJ and BJ. BJ, I don't know who BJ is, but there's a BJ out there somewhere. They have no choice but to go to someone else, right? To Dante. Because $1 is a significant amount. When you're saying $1, you're talking either $600 or $5 at the minimum. And if you're talking like a volume player, you're talking about $3-4 grand a week. $3-4 grand a week, $3,000 a week, $12,000 a month, $124,000 a year. What? Yeah, that's all it takes, man. And you can break a market. You can break a market. You can get 3 or 4 people of the same mind, and you go after sort of the volume guys. You get in there because those guys are niche guys. Those guys are the ones that, they're going to give favor to their best friend until they start recognizing they can save over $100,000 a year. And
so right now they're just it's like the Titanic movement, right? Or the Titanic movie. They're gonna play their instruments until the ship tanks.
Right.
That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna hold on for dear life. And so what we need to start doing, and especially me when I leave voicemails, or not voicemails, but when they say, hey, we don't have anything, this is our price, or the price is too high, I'm gonna start saying, hey, if anything changes, let me know.
Yeah. That's a great point. If anything changes, let me know. Follow up in this game, no matter in sales. Right? Everybody here is a sales guy. Follow up in this game is so important. And taking, as Cardone would say, taking a no as a yes. When someone says no, they are really saying, you just haven't told me enough yet to make me want to pursue what you're offering. I don't care about it. Like a no, I just hear that and I get energized by I get energized by them. To this morning, before I had my coffee, this guy calls me about replacement windows. And he says, I know we reached out to you before and you said yes, we couldn't make it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, man, you guys come on out. Do you know what this dude did? You know what he did? This guy, this is what you shouldn't do, kept talking. He spent the next 7 or 8 minutes trying to convince me to take an appointment that had already agreed to taking. Come on now. And I didn't even have my coffee, and I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. I actually had to explain it to him and say, hey, man, I've already told you yes. You don't have to further convince me. I already want what you're offering. What's next steps? But you gotta be listening to what's happening out there. You gotta have your ear to the ground. You've got to be focused on the customer and their needs, empathy, all of those kind of things. Listening is so critical, but you've got to see it coming before it gets there. And I guess that's the whole point. You have got to see this thing coming before it gets there. Now, you go back to some of these videos and stuff that we did 6-7 months ago. I know we've been doing it for at least 6 months, right? We predicted all of this. And it's not because we're like smart or anything like that. Well, Nigel might not be smart. It's not because we're not smart. It's not because we're not smart. It's not anything that have to do with great intelligence. It's observation. It's just observing and seeing kind of how things are starting to play out. So before we start to speak about it, we saw it playing itself out, and we start drawing the natural conclusions of how these things played. And it brings me to this point. It's a waste of time to offer, and in my opinion, guys, it's a waste of time to offer combo pallets.
Yep.
It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. So who agrees or disagrees with that? And if you disagree, tell me why.
Agree.
Somebody got to disagree. Some. I mean, we got too many people in here to only agree. But
excuse me, Reggie, just a quick question. What exactly is a combo pallet? I'm not afraid to say. I'm just because different places we got different terms. So what exactly is that?
perfect. Thank you. Well, combo pallet typically is a combination of new wood and recycled wood. You will typically see it as new stringers with recycled boards. That's typically how it would run. Sometimes it would be recycled stringers with new boards, but typically it's new stringers recycled boards. So what that does, it drives down the market. So I mean, basically, so people typically says, "Hey, I want new pallets," right? And they can't afford it, or they don't like the price of new pallets, and they are very, concerned about the stability of that pallet if you're getting a used one, and they feel comfort when they have new stringers. And so that's kind of the play there, and it's something that you can. It's between an A and a new, or a number one grade in a new pallet. So that's kind of how that works. It gives
So
you,
excuse me, Reggie, just real quick.
yeah,
So because remember when I called you and I was like, this is WinMac. It's just they got my name different. So when I called you and I got my dismantling machine, my notcher, that's what I do. I'll take some odds, tear it down, get all the good news number, and make an A. And it's been working perfectly fine with me. My customers aren't complaining.
Oh, this
Yes.
is WinMac?
yes, that's because you just said it though. You didn't present it as a combo. You presented it as an A. It's a difference.
Correct. I got you.
That's a difference. See, what cats do is they present it as a combo because they're trying to get that extra $1.50. That's the reason why. Because basically, what I'm saying to you is, customer, what I'm saying to the customer is, hey, bro, I'm gonna give you this one here. I know my new is $15, but I'm gonna give you this at $13.50, and my A is $11. And so that's how they're trying to segue between the two. But you're not saying that. What you're saying is, I'm tearing them down and I'm making A's. Perfect. That's exactly it. Now, when the mood of the market changes, that's when you start saying this is a combo pallet. You have the dexterity to be able to do that. As the mood of the market changes and the cost of lumber goes up, now that A that you've just recycled, and it has anything new in there, like anything that looks new at the very least, now becomes that combo pallet. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's where we want to be at as well, in that mindset of understanding how that would, guys, if you don't have some sort of Google alerts, I know Dante has something like that telling you about pallets or lumber prices, get it. And maybe, Nigel, guess what? Let's make a note to put something on our website that actually monitors the price of wood, of lumber. So these guys will have something they can go back to all the time. Because when it goes up and it spikes really hard, then we want to make sure that we take advantage of it. We want to take advantage, especially of the guys who are holding. Speaking of holding, let me explain to you why you need to attack now. The reason why you need to attack now is this. When 48 by 40, when these other guys went out camp, and some of these other folks, Pallet One, when they started to make these moves and buying up the regional pallet yards, Simultaneously, what they did is they went out and they started to buy all of the product, like everything that was around them. So these guys, the guys of pallet pirates, I don't care what you call them, the guys on the front lines who are actually picking this stuff up, risking their lives, right? Because it is a risky situation out there. If anyone's been out there to pick up pallets, you got to know you respect these guys. It's a risky venture. That's why I have to say an F to a John every time I think about how he tries to push people out there without letting them know that that shit is risky. If you're out there 3 o'clock in the morning picking up pallets from places that you don't know, there are people sleeping amongst that wood. There's drugs. There's all kinds of stuff that you can connect with and not know it innocently. So I digress, right? So what these guys did is they went out and they started to buy up all of the supply around them, and they started paying big dollars for them, big dollars, $6, $7, $8 in some cases, and in some places for supply. But yes, but what happened is simultaneously, as they're doing this, they're making this big purchase, paying a ton of money for the property, the land, the name, the logos, whatever. And now they're buying up the supply around them, thinking that they've cornered the market and now will be able to go to the customers and say, here's your price, pay it or not get anything. But that's not exactly how it's going. What's happening is that those prices, the other prices from the other smaller guys like us have gone down and should have been going down. So now we can attack them, and they're holding all of that product that they paid $8 for, that they don't want to sell for $6. So eventually they're going to. I work for a company called Mobile Mini. And what we did is we went out and we we did exactly what these guys did. And what happened was we got a lot of these other yards, their supply, these canisters, these boxes as we call them, that we didn't need. Like we just didn't need them. It didn't fit our requirements. They leaked, they whatever, right? So we would just store them in the back of the pallet or the back of the yard. They would just be stored. And we had a place here in Tampa, like one of my offices here in Tampa. It was just acres and acres of stuff that we didn't use that was just slowly just rusting. So we came up with this concept of just selling it for whatever we could get. And we called the mission Solstice. So myself and other executives, we took charge of it, and we basically went out to our regional yards. So I went to all the yards, and we just made the manager say, hey man, I don't care what that is, get rid of it, sell it, get it off of our books. Because here's what you got to know. I'm getting to a point here. Here's what you got to know. Those assets now become liabilities, and they got to file taxes and pay taxes on those things. You think they want to do that? Nah, they're not going to want to do it for right now. So eventually they're going to have to release them and flood the market with them. And they're going to be flooding them for cheap. But right now, they're trying to hold serve.
Real quick, Raheem, before you go, because Raheem does want to speak.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Raheem. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can hardly hear him, man. Yeah.
I can't. It's like I'm struggling to hear you. I don't know how, but I'm struggling to hear you, bro.
Just a tad bit, brother. But I heard something like you said something about, man. It sounded really good. Something about your.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit better. Go ahead. Much better.
I don't know how many. Okay, it's much better, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know how. Okay, so I was saying this couple experience I had with on the like basically supply and the issue that was happening for the bottom that we get the Forest Canal and now the lumber prices overall, which we didn't make some of they did very well during that time, right? And if they were overstocking their shelf, right, on customers, so they needed more power. Well, now I'm seeing things happening worse because on my home side, I have my customers where I recycle the pallets at. You know, they're like, hey, you don't like I'm sitting in trailers that need to be recycled or make money from, but I can't because they don't have the space, right? Because their customers don't have the space on their shelf because they can't move the product unnecessary because they're overstocked, right? And then the customers have their product at the ports.
Yes.
They can't
Yes.
even accept right now. So, which is also driving the price of the lumber down. Okay, so I want to know, were y'all having that problem as well too on the haul-off side, not being to counterparts not having this, they're not accepting it, saying, yo, listen, we're too stacked with 40 by 40s. You can't accept it.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that. I got him. So
What do you think the solution is right now? You know, I feel like, you know, we almost need to be creative and create storage.
well, I got a solution for you. So firstly, for those that couldn't hear him, and I just kind of dug in, but I heard you. You saying you talked about now your yards are full. You're trying to move product, but your customer can't move product because their stuff and they can't get their stuff out of the from the ports. They can't make a move, so it's stagnant right now. And so the solution is, and one, I'm not saying this is the solution. Let me take a half a step back and tell you that Nadrell and I had to learn this the hard way. Okay. So basically, we get a call 2 weeks, a week, oh, this week, not 2 weeks ago, this week. In the our client says, hey man, my yard is where I'm overly stuffed. I'm beyond capacity. So I'm gonna have to knock this off for a few weeks. Just reach out. I'll reach out to you when I'm ready. He's not going anywhere. He just doesn't have a place to put these pallets in there. It's not moving. So this happened to us before, and that's the reason why what we did was we made a concerted effort to diversify our portfolio and move out beyond the area and the areas in which we work. So we have that luxury because Pallet Junction is nationwide. But what we do is we encourage our guy in Louisiana, hey, listen, give me a 50-cent break on those pallets so now that I can ship those pallets over to Texas, right? The other thing is that we understand, so we have some unique advantages. So I don't want to make it seem like we just came up with this on our own. But so we started to be trans-regional, because we could follow the flow where it wasn't being stagnated. So there are places that it's not stagnant right now. And so we follow that flow. And so we reach out. I reached out to Miami the other day, or actually today, and we're getting something going over there. And so we're following the flow and getting away from the places that does have the bottleneck. And so one of the things that you want to do is you want to start to strategize, and we can help you do that. Call Nidrell. Nidrell will give you some price points for trucking that's reasonable, that you could take your product and you could say it's going to cost $500 to move it from here to there. there's some action over there, and I could work that $500 into my price per pallet, and I'm still going to make some money. Now, are you going to make the same $4 or $5 that you were making before? Nah, maybe it might be just $3, but you still are making some money. Second thing is that on the folks that have these the haul offs and things like that, in my opinion, I take advantage of those guys. We here, because of our advertising, the way it works, we beat off people calling us saying, "Hey, we have a certain amount of pallets, whatever." So I don't know if anyone knows this or not, but uh, in uh, in Orlando, the two biggest companies in Orlando is not buying pallets. Period. They're not buying pallets. So we actually have people. We're in the Tampa Bay area, which is about a good 100 miles away. They come over to us to sell their pallets. They beg us, man. They beg us, and they drop the prices so far down. But thirdly, to the point that he made earlier, if you couldn't hear him, we should be thinking about storage, and you should be thinking about storage. Let me tell you a couple of really good storage opportunities you could have. I'm not promoting Mobile Mini or anything like that, but if you know what a Mobile Mini is, it's a Connex box that's been repurposed for storage. You can get those things very cheaply. A 45 footer, I believe, a 40 footer can house, I believe, about almost 500 or so pallets, 48 by 40s. Utilize those. Well, I don't have the space. You're thinking to yourself, you don't have the space, right? Maybe in your yard. You don't need space in your yard. Guess where you can put those things at? You can, every trucking area has sort of like a yard in which truckers go to either leave their dry vans or their power only vehicles. They typically will rent those things out for 125 bucks. And so maybe a little bit more, but you can sit it there as long as you're not working from there. If you understand what I'm saying, you can't work from there as far as going in and out all day long, but you can store your pallets there. And so I would be buying those pallets up, man, at the cheapest rate, and taking advantage of that. That's what I would do. Now Nigel and I, we vacillate on that all the time because we truly are not in the pallet business like that. We do it with my son, but it's not like, not like that. So we say no more than we say yes. I mean, we literally say no 9 out of 10 times, and we get a call or a request locally at least once a day. And I'm not talking about for 3 or 4 pallets. I'm talking about sometimes for 200 or 300, at least a couple times a week. So I would take advantage of that. I mean, I remember last week, right before Christmas, man, or right after Christmas, someone was like begging us to take, they had 75 to 100 pallets or something like that. They say, hey, we just want $3 each for them. The dude sends me a picture in their brand new pallets. I'm thinking he stole them. So that's kind of the preliminary strategy that I have for that I see, that you have to become trans-regional, and then get into the odd sizes. Anything smaller than a 48 by 40 that you could break down and make. And there's a lot of that out there. A lot of that out there.
Reg, I'm glad you said that because to that point, that's what I focus on. My focus is custom size.
Yeah.
I focus on odd size, size. I'm a 40 square guy, 22 by 60 by 40. That's where I relish. Um, but with the 40 by 40 is mostly for the haul off, and I want to make some extra money. I like what you said about the truck stops, and park the trucks and getting that space, because that's actually a business model that can be created during this supply chain challenge time, because you can actually extend that business to your right. You could basically buy the space and then resell the space to your your pallet yard, right?
That's right.
Customer, right?
That's
So
right.
That's actually pretty dope. What you said. So I'm like, my wheels is turning, as you were explaining it. So I no.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
100%. Now, Gerald, you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we also have to look at the trickle effect, right? So this recession or depression, whatever you categorize it, is a little bit different. This is the part where we're separating. Obviously, there's no such thing as middle class right now, I believe. So this is the wealth gap, right? The rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer. So with that being said, you got to look and say, okay, well, what do the rich do, right? They go in, they buy houses, they buy, all of these things. So if they buy houses, that means people are buying furniture, right? People are buying, you got to have new doors, you got to have new cabinets, you got to have, all the new furniture pieces and stuff like that. And that's perfect, that you are in that realm, because now odd size pallets are going to be like a little bit, almost just about popular with the 4840. And just in my eyes, and I'm just thinking out loud too, just in my eyes, because like I said, we're having that big separation and wealth gap.
Man, you always trying to preach about that. I was born in the ghetto, but I was born rich. How about that?
Hey, yo, I'm gonna rock with Nigel on that one. I'm gonna rock with him on that one because JP Morgan is buying one point something billion in residential homes. Right? We need to find out what markets they're buying them in, because that's where we can get the top dollar in those custom pallets, odd size pallets, right?
Which
because the price will go up in those markets.
And I agree with you there. Here's the great advantage. Let's think about the greatest advantage you have when it comes to odd size pallets. You typically can get them for free. That is a huge advantage. You don't even have to buy them. And typically they are in great shape from what I've seen. That to me, when you talk about odd shaped pallets, if you get a large enough plot, large enough place in which to store them, hopefully indoors, in my opinion, is the best. Right now, we are storing. The reason why we know about the Connex box is because we're storing some pallets in a Connex box. And guess what? They're odd shaped pallets, but they hold their value and they're great looking. The 2x4s are amazing. And those things are absolutely free to us. We have a customer that we go and we pick up their pallets every week from. And it doesn't cost us a dime. Doesn't cost us a dime. And we just cut them down and we make odd shaped pallets from them. Reggie's making what, $6,000 a month from that? I mean, we're talking about Junior. Junior's making about $6,000 a month from doing that on a part-time basis. So that's, I think that we need to start thinking about a little bit more.
Is he charging to haul them off per pallet?
Yeah, so typically we do. In this particular case, because he had some competition, we're just doing it at no cost to him. Because we did have some other folks that kind of realized what we were doing. They offered to pay us. In fact, we were generating that kind of having that kind of conversation. They happen also to be from Philly as well. So, the continuity was there. And they were like, yeah, man, we'll pay you, blah, blah, blah. And then some other guys came in and was like, nah, we'll take them for free. And so we had to go ahead, we had to acquiesce. And we're okay with it. I mean, they have enough to, and then we take them, and then what we don't need, we just sell them to other pallet yards for $3 or $4. So either way, and we can actually send the other pallet yards there to pick them up without worrying about getting circumvented or anything like that. So it kind of works out on our behalf. It's not always the same. Go ahead.
Thank you I am not going to be able to, because I'm here on the more like central New Jersey. But the clients that I have, because I was doing the Google AdSense for the marketing, and I'm making calls been coming in, but they're more. I got a Hamilton, New Jersey. I have a guy that has almost approximately 2,000 pallets. A few hundred of them are really poor, but the majority of them are your 40 by 40s, and they're in decent condition, cores, or they're just ready to go, right? And he wants me to take it free, right? Something on the back end, right? On the back end, wants me to help him out just a little bit, right? I
Yeah.
don't know what that number is. I'm just saying to him out, but my resource, because not only do I put custom pallets, but I don't hold inventory. I don't pay for drivers. But I have trucks and I have drivers, but I don't have to pay for them. I basically will pay my vendor to take care of everything for me, right?
Smart.
So I take the margin. Okay, so I have no liability, or no overhead.
Yeah.
So, because there's always a liability, right? But on this side, they're going to basically the price they're going to charge me to remove those to pick up the pallets and bring them to my Edison pallet yard, with the mileage and the service fee, it'd be negative. I'll be in the negative by that time, right? And with the spatial issue that we were talking about before. So, if anyone here is open to, one guy in Lawrenceville has 250 pallets, but I actually negotiated with him. He will pay the fee of $4 per pallet. So for the removal, so that's basically 800 something bucks up front before we even recycle, right? And then on the other side, the other guy in Hamilton, New Jersey, he has almost 2,000 pallets, right? About a
Quick question. You said Hamilton or Hamilton? The blueberry capital?
Hamilton. I never heard of
next to
Hamilton until this week. So Hamilton, New Jersey. Yeah, Jewish guy, pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? And,
hear me out, bro. Is it the blueberry capital, or
I don't even know
is
what
it
that
by
is.
Trent?
Bro, I'll be honest, man. First time I heard about it, it's an hour and 45 minutes from me. I'm in Central Jersey, so I think it's South Jersey.
It's South Jersey. That's in my neck of the woods. I'm like 30 minutes out. I'm actually looking to buy land out there.
Okay, so then what you want to do is just shoot me a number in the chat, or I'll put my number in the chat to you guys. And then I don't want to, and I'll send you the pictures of it. Send me a video and send my information. And I got that from you, Reggie. Something to the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Video, man.
Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that, man. Calls been coming in. So the Lawrenceville call came in. So basically, Lawrenceville, so my company, my subcontractor will charge me $550 to use the truck to drop it off in Edison, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's like, it's 800 I'm making off the fee, and then whatever the guy will pay, I'm thinking whatever $55. But I'd rather put it in the network, because that's why I want to get more building the network instead of kind of doing things kind of like on an island, right? So that's the goal. So I don't want to lose. It doesn't have to be my client; it could be your client. But I don't want. I want to, just like you said, really touched on Reggie, customer service, customer relations, and that's what I want to do. I want the guy to be like, man, when I called the Pallet Champs, these guys took care of me.
That's right.
So
That's right.
That's what I want. That goes a long way. Even though you might go the distance with them, you may talk to the next guy and say, man, talk to my guy at the Pallet Champs, and they'll take care of you.
That's right.
So we're in business together, because maybe my logistics, my resources, my big 3-footers, and my custom size pallets are cheaper, whatever it may be. Because I have laborers that make that stuff on they actually 10 days.
Or Raheem, you don't even know this, but we're actually working on a deal for you. You have no idea. We're just waiting on getting approval for it. Yeah, we're just waiting to get approval for it. Yeah, it's not too far. It's not too far from you. So we're just waiting to get approval and final on the pricing. But we'll see. It's about $18 a pallet. No, it's like is it 16? $16 a pallet.
What are those custom size pallets?
Nah, it's just they're not custom, but it's an extra board and it's about the gap spacing, which is important to them because they don't want it to most of their stuff is like sand or something like that. And so the forklift is always jabbing it. They've always tried to use the sheets. I don't want to waste everybody's timber on it, but we'll talk about it. We're just waiting on word, but once we get it, hopefully we will. You're like the first stop because you're the closest to them. So, but we'll talk about it for sure. Hey, Drell,
Yo,
you had me here 2 hours last week, bro. You can't have me here.
yeah, I know.
You can't have me here 2 hours this week, bro.
I know.
I
We
love you.
always,
I love you,
We
man.
have to come. So yeah, Raheem, I got your information. I just saved it.
What you mean? You don't know who Raheem is, the Pallet Champ dog? You're running Pallet Junction and you don't know who your customer is? That's what I'm saying. Customer service. Man, you begin with customer service and you end it with customer service.
We've got a plethora of people. Yes, they slip my mind here and there. It's like,
What?
oh
Nah,
yeah.
dog, nah. I know them all. I know them all. All right, let's get together, man, and let's get Raheem in the loop with KJ and also with Dante as well. So yeah, let's get those guys in the loop together and connect with each other because that's their sales guys. So, but gentlemen, I am out. Y'all can continue to love on each other, but I'm going home. I got babies and stuff. I got new grandbabies.
Yeah. So all right, we're wrapping it up. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say congratulations on the grandchildren.
I appreciate it, man. I don't do anything. I only had the first set. The rest was up to everybody else. Blessings, gentlemen. I love this. Our audience is growing. You're doing a good job, Nigel. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it more informative. From Bangladesh to Bangladesh, Maine, this Negro's out of here.
All right.